Well, welcome to Speaking of Horses. I'm your host, Wayne Williams, and we're ready to go right here with some of the great stories from the horse industry. So join us as we get ready to go Speaking of Horses right here on this station. Well, hey, welcome to Speaking of Horses. Today, my guest is Mr. Loren Klock. Now, Loren is the equestrian chairman for the Tournament of Roses in Pasadena, coming up just in a couple of weeks, coming up here, right around New Year's. The parade is actually on New Year's Day, the Rose Parade, but there's also Equestfest, which is held at the Los Angeles Equestrian Center, LA Equestrian Center in Burbank, and that's on the 29th of December. And that's where all of the equestrian units come together and do a performance for the crowd prior to going into the parade a couple of days, and that way you can really see how skilled many of these equestrian units are. So first of all, we want to say welcome, Loren, and are you ready for this?
Well, first of all, thank you, Wayne, and yeah, we're ready. You said 2 weeks. It's actually 14 days, 17 hours, 21 minutes.
But
52 seconds until kickoff of the 130th Rose Parade.
Well, you've got quite a bit of task here.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of a task, but this is my 26th parade, and we have a crew of 30 people on our equestrian committee that will, I think we have it covered.
Well, you've got not only the parade, but Equestfest, and then you've got getting the horses in and out and checked. And I actually did an interview a week or two ago with the ladies from Hawaii who are coming back over. And that's quite a story there. So you get quite a wide assembly of units from, around the country and sometimes around the world.
Oh, correct. We like to, the application process is open up to all, and we review it, and we have quite a few from around the country. We have, as you mentioned, the Hawaii POW riders coming all the way from Hawaii. We also have the Calgary Stampede show riders who are coming down from Calgary, Canada. And a new entry this year is the Parsons Mounted Cavalry, and they are actually part of Texas A&M University, and they're making the trip all the way out here to help us bring in the new year.
And those are some wonderful groups. I mean, when you bring out the university students that are riding in that Parsons, that is really, bringing in the youth of the equestrian industry as well, and it's quite a story to tell about them.
Correct. What we found interesting about Parsons was not only, as you mentioned, the youth factor, and what's real interesting is besides a couple of semi-truck drivers, this is all done by the cadets. They have a military advisor, but they are planned. There's about 65 of them making the trip out here. They plan it all themselves. They feed their horses, groom their horses. It's all run by the cadets.
That's all of the lessons that you need. I've always thought that all of the kids who grow up, through teenage years, were very formative years, and they have the responsibility of taking care of livestock is very dependent on them. And if they have the responsibility of that care and watch how the cycle of life really works, I really believe you get a much better adult when you're done.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you 100%. Like I said, this is my 26th parade. I've never been on the equestrian committee. I've been around a few equestrians, and I've rode horses myself, but the people, the spirit of them, of the equestrians that I've met since we started this process this year is tremendous. And like you said, these youth, we also have a Blue Shadows mounted drill team, which is a younger drill team that has actually applied a couple of years in a row, but didn't quite meet the to and are now in the parade. But yes, they also it teaches them, I think, a lot of life lessons when you have animals to care for, and also when you're in a group like this, especially a drill team or a cadet thing, the mounted arson cavalry group. So there's a lot of wonderful aspects to the whole equestrian world, I believe.
You know what else it teaches? You were talking about Blue Shadows. When you take a drill team like that, where everybody, number one, we all know they take care of their own horses and they have all of that responsibility, but they have to learn their routine. They have to learn to work together as a team. They have to learn a lot of those things. And then they also learn that, the Tournament of Roses parade, which has been going on since about, 1890, I believe, 1895. When did it start exactly?
1890 was the first parade that the Valley Hunt Club decided to showcase our wonderful weather we have out here in Southern California. And they just adorned their carriages and had a little parade before they had, it was actually, they had some tournaments that they had. So equestrian and horses have been here since the beginning. But yeah, in 1890, it's our 130th parade.
Wow. Well, when these teams work together and they come, the ultimate prize, and anybody that has ridden in parade groups, and myself included, the ultimate prize is to get a chance to ride in the Tournament of Roses parade. That's the big apple, shall we say, phrasing it differently, of the parade world. If you can make it to the Tournament of Roses parade, then you have achieved, one of the top levels in what you're setting out to do. And this can teach all of those young kids, too, that there's a big prize out there, but it's not just handed to you by your own admission of how the application process goes. But if you work hard enough, you can eventually make it to your goal.
No, exactly. And, you mentioned we have Equestfest. It's not only the parade. Unfortunately, in the parade, as it is for equestrian, some of these groups aren't able to demonstrate their actual skills, such as the Blue Shadows Mounted Drill Team or the Norco Cowgirls and some of these others. So Equestfest, which is the 29th annual, is an opportunity for them to showcase some of their other skills that you can't do on a 5.5-mile enclosed parade route where you're going about 2.5 miles per hour.
Right. There's no room to maneuver, and if any maneuvers take place, then it basically winds up holding up the parade. And you guys are pretty good at keeping it moving and having plan A, B, and C if something does happen where a float or something has a problem. Got to keep that parade moving because you've got a lot of television coverage and a lot of spectators, and you pride yourself in the fact that when it kicks off, it goes. So you can't do all that other stuff.
Correct. And, we also pride ourselves, as I mentioned before, with Blue Shadows. We want to make sure that not only are participants going to have a great time, but also the crowd, the spectators. So there's a lot to it other than just the timing. We have a tremendous support group, not only for the marching bands and the floats, but our equestrian. We have veterinarians on call on the parade route. We have equine ambulances. There is a tremendous support, not only for everybody in the parade, but as I've found, especially in the equestrian world.
Well, yeah, and I think that, when you look at the Rose Parade, it's marching band, it's floats first, because adorning the flowers on the floats was what really, made the parade go. But then, of course, for years, horses were needed to pull those floats and carriages. So, you've got horses and floats and bands, and that's the Rose Parade. And those three things are all very important to the history of that parade.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. From 1890 to 1920, it was only equestrian horses that were pulling these floats. It wasn't until 1920 until they started to have motorized floats.
Yeah, the horses are a very important part of it, and Equestfest is really, again, this year it's December 29th, but it's a chance to see, as you said, the skills of all of these equestrian units in the arena there in Burbank at the LA Equestrian Center, where you can just sit down, relax, and watch them do what they do best.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's about 2 hours of some of the best equestrian units around the country, and where you're able to, like you said, sit there and watch what they do best and enjoy in a very family-friendly, relaxed environment.
There's also a kind of a village where you can go back and shop some vendors. You can also you can visit the horses, and especially after Equestfest is over, you know, the units all gather and you can go visit with them and learn about that group, and you can kind of get up close and personal to all of those people. And then when you see them go by in a couple of days in the parade, you'll definitely know a lot more about them.
Right, you can make a connection. They're there for you. We also have a warm-up ring that's kind of out, has a little vendor area, so you can see some of them warming up. And this year we've actually we'll have pony rides for the kids to get a little first-hand experience.
Oh, well, that's good. That's neat. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure, Loren, to talk with you. We're running out of time here, but you're the equestrian chairman for the 2019 Tournament of Roses Parade, and not only are you doing Equestfest, but then you've got to concentrate on the parade itself. So you've got a pretty big undertaking, but I think you got it well in hand, and we encourage everybody to. You'll be able to watch Equestfest. If you can't go, you can watch it through RFD TV and the Cowboy Channel. You'll also be able to watch the parade. So, Loren, thank you very, very much.
Wayne, thank you.
All right.
And I look forward to seeing you here for New Year's in Equestfest.
We'll see you there. Thank you. And stay with us here on Speaking of Horses. And we want to remind you also to be sure and join us as we are at Equestfest. We will have highlights. You can watch Equestfest on RFD TV or the Cowboy Channel. And then, of course, parade coverage on many networks. Well, that's our show. I'm your host, Wayne Williams. Speaking of Horses, we'll be back next week with a brand new show. Or join us at speakingofhorses.com.